Jeremie Frimpong has been one of the players I've suggested United sign for a while now, as even in a back four system, Frimpong could still be used as a natural winger on the right side. But now under Ruben Amorim in his 3-4-3 system, Frimpong would come into the side in his best role, which is as a right wing back. But the question is he a better signing in terms of stylistic fit and value for money compared with Quenda? How would inserting Frimpong into the United side improve Manchester United tactically, and is Frimpong still the best option on the market for Manchester United at this point in time? And I will be suggesting two alternatives for a similar or lesser price later on in the video. So in terms of the first question, Quenda or Frimpong, I do think Frimpong is better value for money, as well as Quenda cost Chelsea around £40 million, with a loan back to Sporting for next season also included in that deal. Frimpong would be a bit cheaper in terms of transfer fee, reportedly having a release clause of around £33 million. And given the fact that Frimpong has been probably the best right wing back in world football in the past 18 months, whilst Quenda is still very much an unproven talent, as he hasn't even completed a full season in senior football, I think in terms of the money United would have had to pay for Quenda, Frimpong is probably the better value for money. And I would also say that stylistically, for the right wing back position, Frimpong is probably also the better option in that regard for United, and I'm going to break down exactly why. If you do want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to dragonjersey.com. They've got a variety of different current season and retro jerseys, as well as the Manchester United shirts going all the way back to the early 90s. Depending on where you live, you can get 7 to 12 day delivery time, as well as a 30-day money back guarantee. But if you do want to check out any of the details before you buy, they have got their WhatsApp and email on the site. You can use code Atlantis at checkout to get a 10% discount for a limited time, so I'll leave it linked in the description and in the comment section below. And so remember to use code Atlantis at checkout for your 10% discount. So why do I think Frimpong is a better option stylistically compared with Quenda? Well, it's because he's a right footer who primarily is going to go down the outside of the fullback, rather than naturally wanting to cut in field onto his stronger left foot, as would be the case with Quenda. And the reason this makes Frimpong a better stylistic fit is because if United are going to be signing a right wing back, it surely has to be with the view of Ahmad playing ahead of them as the right-sided interior forward, because I think Ahmad without doubt is good enough to be Amorim's starting right wing back, and the only reason he wouldn't be starting there for a period of time is because he's being used further forward on the right side of the centre forward, and when using him in this more advanced position, I think he needs a right-footed wing back behind him who can provide the forward runs on the overlap, looking to burst down the outside of the fullback, which in turn is going to drag defenders deep and open up space on the inside for Ahmad to cut into, or feed the pass down the outside looking for the forward run of the wing back. See, I never felt that Quenda stylistically was the right signing for United, as whilst he can also play on the left side, I think he's too stylistically similar to Ahmad, and if United were to recruit well in the summer in the interior forward positions, ideally you'd have Ahmad as the right wing back anyway, and so it would make sense to have some stylistic variety to balance out the squad. And so rather than having another left footer who wants to come in field from the right wing back position, someone like Frimpong, who like Dorgu on the other side, can provide blistering pace on the overlap, in my opinion overall just suits the squad a lot better. Now in terms of how good Frimpong is statistically, it's pretty hard to compare him, because FBref obviously don't have wing backs as a comparison, and comparing Frimpong to fullbacks or wingers isn't really giving you the overview that you probably want. If you were to compare him to fullbacks, Frimpong is vastly superior when it comes to most of his offensive metrics, goal scoring, chance creation, and his ball carrying, but against wingers, whilst his ball carrying and chance creation metrics are still pretty good, he doesn't have the output that someone like Ahmad has, which you'd probably expect as Frimpong isn't really a winger, or much more of a natural wingback like Dorgu. But a good thing about Frimpong is that what you see is what you get. He has got his limitations. Aerially, he probably would be a liability in a back four, but even in the Premier League, I think a back five does protect him sufficiently. Defensively he's okay, but he is a type of defender to make positional mistakes here and there, and isn't a 1v1 defending specialist either. However, his main strength is his pace, which certainly makes up for this, as Frimpong isn't just quick, but he's rapid, both over short and longer distances, both on the recovery when running back towards his own goal, and when bombing forward into space down the right flank on the offensive. I wouldn't give him the label of a 1v1 specialist, but he certainly has the ability to beat a defender in some 1v1s after dropping the shoulder and bursting down the outside. But the question with Frimpong comes around his progressive passing from deeper areas on the flanks and his output in the final third. Someone like Ahmad I think could pick up double figures for his goals and assists next season from right wing back, as well as having the ability to find incisive passes and through balls when he's cutting inside from deeper areas on the flanks onto his left foot, which would also be a benefit of having someone like Quenda. However, unlike Quenda, Frimpong has been a consistent performer in a top European league for the last few seasons now, and for the price you'd have to say it's value for money. But this brings us on to our next question. Are there any better options on the market for a similar or a cheaper price? Now, as I've said in recent videos, Dwight McNeil, who probably would be available for a similar kind of price, would be my first choice in the summer, but for the sake of this video I'll rule him out. So one alternative to Frimpong, who stylistically is actually a lot more similar to Quenda, is Sporting Braga's Roger Fernandes, who only turned 19 in November. Like Quenda, Fernandes is a left-footed right winger who can also play from the left side as well, either as a left winger, a left wing back, or just a left back. Now, in comparison to both Quenda and Frimpong, I think Roger Fernandes' crossing, particularly his deeper crosses, are superior. Alongside that, whilst Quenda is a lot more versatile than Frimpong in terms of being able to play from either flank, as well as having a skill set that is a lot more varied, Fernandes is even more versatile than Quenda, as this season he's been used as a right winger primarily, but also as a left back and a right-sided midfielder. Now, unlike Frimpong, Roger Fernandes from the right side would be a multifaceted threat, capable of going down the outside and driving towards the byline on his right foot, or dropping a shoulder and driving inside onto his left, or just getting the ball out of his feet and delivering a curling in-swinging cross into the box. Like Quenda, he's a highly technical winger, primarily focused on using their quick feet and acceleration to wrong foot the defender before driving into the space created. But I think Fernandes might actually be slightly quicker than Quenda. I'm not sure over longer distances, but in terms of his acceleration over shorter distances and how quickly he can transfer weight from one foot to the other, I actually think Fernandes stylistically is kind of a blend between Frimpong and Quenda, having Frimpong's acceleration with Quenda's technique. And even defensively, I think you could argue that Fernandes is the best of the three, as I often feel Quenda can approach a 1v1 defensive situation a bit flat-footed, where it's all or nothing. Either he wins the ball or he gets beaten completely, which I think could see him at the moment exposed significantly more in the Premier League against higher quality wingers. Now, Roger Fernandes isn't significantly better defensively than Quenda as a wing-back, but we've seen him both at central midfield as well as at left wing-back, and I think he's a bit more tenacious and aggressive in the tackle. Statistically, compared to attackers, he's very good defensively, and I'd also say he's a bit better in the air than Quenda as well. As expected, Fernandes isn't the complete package given his age. Whilst he is capable of delivering good crosses off of both feet from either flank, either deep or closer to the byline, his crossing consistency still needs improvement, as I think he needs to work on getting less loft on these crosses, making some of them a bit flatter with more pace. However, I definitely think that once he improves this part of his crossing, which under the right coaching he could probably do within the next 2 years, I think Roger Fernandes develops into more of a crossing specialist than Quenda. Maybe not to McNeil's level, but you could certainly argue that factoring in potential and their complete skill set, whilst McNeil is probably the better option for the next 1 to 2 years, Fernandes has significantly higher potential than McNeil, and also Frimpong as well, and maybe just as, if not higher potential than Quenda alongside that. Now, I do prefer McNeil at the moment just slightly based on current ability and being Premier League proven given the price, but Fernandes' versatility, crossing ability, speed, ability to go inside or outside, and his tenacity in duels on the ground or in the air does make it a close one. The maximum I would pay for McNeil and Fernandes would be £30 to £35 million, maybe even a bit less for Fernandes, depending on the structure of the deal. But there is someone else who could be a bit cheaper and arguably just as good despite having a slightly different skill set. But before I tell you who that is, a quick reminder, I do have a Patreon where you can read some of my articles. You can get a 7-day free trial, so check them out. I'll leave it linked in the description, the comment section, the eye above, and on the end screen after the video. So the player who could be an alternative option is Francisco Conceição, who's currently at Juventus on loan from Porto, and even though Juventus do have an option to buy, there have been rumours that maybe Juventus won't trigger it for one reason or another. Now, the reason he is lower on my list is because he doesn't have the same level of crossing ability as either Fernandes or McNeil, which, as I've said in previous videos, is a skill that I think United need to be looking for in their next wing-back. But you could argue that both statistically and from the eye test, Francisco Conceição is the superior ball carrier and goal threat. Like Fernandes and Quenda, Conceição does make up for the disparity in crossing ability between him and McNeil by being a better 1v1 dribbler, but comparing him to Roger Fernandes and Giovanni Quenda, I think Conceição is a level above when it comes to his close control dribbling in more congested areas around the box, which enables him to work shooting angles in a way that the other four I've mentioned in this video just can't. As a right winger in a back four system, I think you'd have to say that Conceição is a better option than Fernandes or Frimpong, but as a wing back, I don't know if Conceição has a versatility in his game to play from either flank. nor does he have the crossing ability that I would ideally look to partner with someone like Osimhen. And also physically, Conceição is on the slight side, whereas Roger Fernandes is a lot more robust and physically strong. So in terms of options, McNeil would be my first choice between 30 to 35 million pounds. Fernandes would be my second, I'd say probably 25 to 30 with add-ons over 30. Jeremie Frimpong would be my third choice with his release clause being 33 million pounds, and Conceição would be my fourth choice, which would be dependent on Juventus not completing their option to buy in his current loan deal, which I think works out to be around 26 million pounds. So let me know what you think of the options I've suggested, and if you do want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to Dragon Jersey. I'll leave it linked in the description and comment section, and you can use code Atlantis at checkout for a 10% discount. And if you want to sign up to my Patreon or watch one of my other videos, I'll leave both on the end screen now.